The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com.
What is up? This is Financial Coaching Radio, the one show giving you the truth about personal finance. No baby steps, no one-size-fits-all planning. Here, we'll leave that to the other guys. I'm Jason Qualls, certified financial planner. For all about me, check out jasonquallscfp.com. I am one of the only independent commission-free financial advisors in Rutherford County. To listen to the show anytime, anywhere, of course, that website is financialcoachingradio.com. We'll jump right into a common topic that gets discussed with me and my clients these days. And that is, where do we get the highest yield on our savings? And it seems like today, and I'm not sure why, that more people, for some reason, have more cash than it seems to in years past. And I haven't considered why, but nonetheless, people do. And you're having those conversations with clients, and you're like, what's your emergency fund? I got 50, got 100, got 150. Where is it held at? It's at my local bank. What are you earning? I'm earning nothing. And which is bizarre in this world we've been living in since 2022, where interest rates have went sky high, because we have been getting 4% plus on savings accounts for quite some time. And many people, many of you listening, still have your cash earning nothing. So I have a caveat here before we get into the highest savings account rates according to Kiplinger magazine. I don't know any of these banks other than one. They're your household names like City, Capital One Bank, City, Ally Bank. The more online driven banks. All FDIC insured, I do have experience with, and they're right around that 3.5% mark. But the key with these is they're over 4%, at least some of them are. And where Ally, let's say, which is the one I'm most familiar with, is paying 3.5%. So New Tech Bank, NEWTEK, is paying 4.35% with a zero minimum opening deposit. Now, is that the best of the best in the world? According to Kiplinger, it's one of the best. Bread Savings, 4.25%, minimum opening deposit of $100. Basque Bank, 4.05%. Paprika Capital Bank, 3.95%, and there's some others I have no idea where there are, other than Betterment, which is an online investment firm. They're offering 3.75%. Personal disclosure, I use Ally Bank, not on the list. They're at 3.5%. I know it's not quite as high as some of the other ones, but they respond very quickly to interest rate changes. That's why I've liked them on the rise up to rates. Of course, they're going to respond just as quickly on the way down. But they're a large presence in the online banking industry. So they have gained my trust, where the other ones that I mentioned in this article from Kiplinger about the best no-fee high-yield savings account rates, other than Betterment, I have no clue anything about the bank. Now, of course, if they're FDIC insured, have no problem there. So if you want to chase interest rates, you still have a little time left before the Fed starts slashing rates and we get back to those minuscule savings account rates we were used to before 2022. And I would never say that I would think that was the good old days, but it actually was the good old days, right? Pre-2022, had mortgages under 3%. Of course, you weren't getting anything on your fixed assets. CDs were paying very little. Cash was paying very little. Money market's paying very little. But you could go out and buy a home for almost any amount of money and get an interest rate for 30 years under 3%. And now I think I read earlier that the average mortgage rate is hovering around 6.5% right now. And that's down from its high, but still nowhere near where we were. And then back in the day, of course, a 6% rate was good, but we're still a little spoiled from those 3% mortgage rates. So if you got one of those pre-2002, have a hard case to pay that thing off, right? But that's a topic for another show. After the break, we'll talk estate planning with John Baker, estate planning attorney. If you want to hit me up online, go to jasonquallscfp.com. I am one of the only independent commission-free financial advisors in Rutherford County. Again, jasonquallscfp.com. This is Financial Coaching Radio, and I'm back right after this.
Hey, Financial Coaching Radio listeners, if you don't understand exactly how your financial advisor is compensated, you could be in big trouble. My name is Jason Qualls, a commission-free certified financial planner. To learn more about why my process is so unique, go to jasonquallscfp.com or call 878-2134 today. Okay, folks, I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. If you were my client or a loved one, I would never let you get your wills done online. This is truly a case of where you only get what you pay for, and those you leave behind will be the ones to pay the price. Go see estate planning attorney John Baker today by calling 896-5621 or go to bakercounsel.com. Again, that's 896-5621 or bakercounsel.com. Get the expert estate planning advice you need today.
Did you know that the U.S. Tax Code has over 70,000 pages? This is precisely why you must have a tax expert on your team. The folks at TH&W CPAs have been providing their expertise to individuals and businesses in Middle Tennessee for over 50 years. And now they have an office right here in Murfreesboro. Call Kevin Sizemore today with TH&W CPAs at 848-1072. That's 848-1072 or online at thwcpa.com.
show. This is Financial Coaching Radio. We do every Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock right here on WGNS. Online anytime at financialcoachingradio.com. I'm Jason Qualls, certified financial planner. JasonQuallsCFP.com for all about me. Joining in to talk and discuss estate planning is John Baker, estate planning attorney. Welcome back to the show, John.
Oh, thanks, Jason. Always great to be here.
With a lot of the chaos that's been going on in the political world, and they still talk about tax law changes, is there really any significant changes in estate planning over the course of the last 10 months since the election, or is everything still standing the way it is?
So, at least from, the earlier in the year, they made the estate tax exemptions, they extended that.
Super high.
So, generally, I think a married couple, I don't even know what the exact figure is, but I think
$26 million.
Yeah, it's north of, $20-something million exemption. So if you're under that, which of course most of us are, then you don't owe federal estate taxes when you die. So that's been the big thing that's popped out, is just the extension of all of those. So that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed.
Some people can get close, even everyday folks, right? And if you have the way houses have appreciated, you got to count life insurance, right?
Yeah.
And then you count retirement plans. You can get up there and be.
Yeah, it's very with that, with the price of real estate. A lot of people don't have traditional pensions now. They have most of their retirement in IRAs, 401ks, and that sort of thing. The deferred retirement accounts. And so when you start to add that up, even just for ordinary people, you can very easily exceed $1 million, $2 million.
And how does business valuations come into play there? Because I think most business owners, unless they have their eye on selling the company, they have no idea what their business would be worth. And obviously, there's a professional valuation that goes into that. Is that something that gets done at death? If let's say someone had a net worth of 20 million, and they're just under the cap of federal estate taxes, but then the business value would put them over. But it's not something that it's tangible, and
Yeah, and that does get complicated, and of course, for most estates, that that business or most other assets are going to get a step up in their basis potentially, at least as to the value of that business, and so valuation, date of death, those things can be important because that may affect future taxes, down the road when the business may be sold.
But is that value counted in the estate?
Oh,
value?
yes, absolutely.
And
yes.
Is there something that forces the valuation, or is it just kind of the honor system? You list everybody's assets, and if you have over the amount when you're doing someone's estate, I guess in that scenario, who handles that value? Is it the executor, trustee?
Yeah, so whoever's preparing the tax return, so either tax lawyer or CPA, who's handling that is probably going to be most directly involved, and it may require a business valuation. To have a profession. There are just like you have a real estate appraisers, there are professional business appraisers, and it may require that so that you can document the value for tax purposes. With the IRS.
And John, back in the COVID days when people were working from home, and there was the shutdown, and then of course that affected your face-to-face meetings with clients, and then there was some, I don't know if it's a rule change or a law change, but you were able to do, online signatures and that kind of thing, right? Has that been made permanent, or is it just carried over from those years? What's changed in the way that legal documents can be signed?
Yeah, so the in my practice, we do most, certainly like wills, trusts, your powers of attorney, and we like to do those in person, signed, notarized in person. There is a kind of a system now set up for remote notary. The remote notary has to be certified by the state, but they can do these remote notarizations. I would say that's probably more common in maybe real estate sales.
Yeah, I've done a couple that way. Not real estate, but just other transactions.
Yeah, transactions, contracting, but less common in estate planning documents, particularly a will, because a will has to be witnessed in person.
Yeah, that would compensate. So how does that work during the? Was it just powers of attorney that were done that way, not wills?
At least that's the way I did. Yes, I did not do a will, and I don't know that you could have done a will. Maybe you could have,
And is that specific to Tennessee? Has to be signed in person.
It may vary from state to state, but the witnesses have to witness in the presence of the person making the will, and signing in the presence. That means physical presence, and there was no change in the will statute to say remote presence or video or anything like that. And so I think most planners that's how they would have done that. Maybe in a crunch, if you had no choice and it was an urgent, somebody was in imminent death or something, maybe you would do that, if that was your only alternative, and hope it withstood, legal challenge. But that's now other documents, like you said, particularly transactional documents. I think that's gotten quite common, and a lot of that probably does come from the COVID era, where we got more accustomed to that type of notarization.
Yeah, it seems like some things changed in the COVID era that aren't just coming back. It seems, but
yeah,
neither here nor there.
Yeah.
For just joining in, we're talking estate planning with John Baker, estate planning attorney. BakerCounsel.com is his web address, BakerCounsel.com. John, a common thing that happens it's usually a parent, but it's any relative, when assets start being given away for various purposes regarding estate planning. And I saw a unique issue the other day I had never seen before. It was where joint gifts were made, but they were made to the same daughter, but they included her spouse and each of her two children. So I guess 3 sets of gifts. there wasn't a net worth that was going to trigger the gift tax.
Right.
But obviously they thought, the gifting, it's kind of a misnomer, right? Where there's the annual limit. What is it, 18,000, something like that?
Right.
Is that the figure now in 2000?
What did I looked at it the other day? It's 18 or 19, I believe.
So you can give that per person without having to
File a
claim with, or not a claim, but a tax return with the IRS.
Right. And that's the issue. Do you have to file a return or not? Because most people, like you said, are never going to have to actually owe the tax.
So covering this once again, as we've covered it before, if your net worth is under 20, 23 million, whatever or 13 if you're single, and you make a gift larger than 18 or 19,000 to one person in 1 year, doesn't mean you're going to have a gift tax or someone's going to trigger a gift tax. It just means you have to file a return with the IRS.
That's correct.
So obviously they were trying to work around, think of triggering the gift tax.
Right.
The unique part of it is that the one daughter was on each of the 3 accounts where the money was gifted. So doesn't that negate the power of that gift in some way? Because she's already received her portion. She can't receive it 3 times.
Right. So you may have to get down into the weeds of how it was actually titled. Now, account title and ownership of the funds in the account can be a little murky. Certainly, each account holder has the right to withdraw, with no recourse, against the bank. But which of the 2 or 3 or however many's on the account, whose funds those actually are, can depend on perhaps
the intent of the gift. Is that where you're going with
Well,
that?
it could be that. It could be it could have a lot of that. I've actually had a case one time where we had to litigate that in court, as who was actually the owner of the funds, and in that particular case, I was arguing that my client was the source of the funds, and they were his funds. The other party was only on there to assist him because my client was elderly, and we basically prevailed on that.
So it's happened, and so that scenario, that's a great scenario.
Yeah. But the bank, now as far as the bank is concerned, in the authority on the account, anybody can pull money. Any of the account holders can pull money out. But then if one of them pulls out more than his share, the other account holder may have a claim against him for doing that. So it can get kind of complicated there. I would say that that's not how I would like to have set up that gift. I don't want ambiguity. I want clarity when you're talking about the IRS and tax returns. I don't want any question. So I think the better practice probably would be not to have that person on all 3 accounts as an equal account holder.
Right.
But
What do you? Obviously, it was kind of thrown around for a long time. In the years you've been practicing law, has this always been, kind of a myth or a misnomer about gifting? That no matter what someone's net worth is, they think the limit is whatever the limit is, and they can't go over that. Has that always been around?
As long as I've been doing it, yes. I've been at this, 25 years or something like that, pretty extensively, and in fact, it'll even creep over into Medicaid. People will think that if the tax rule says I can give away $19,000, that's a Medicaid
from a
rule,
federal gift tax standpoint,
and that's okay for Medicaid. And I have to explain, no, that would not be okay for Medicaid. It'd be okay for the IRS, but not for your state Medicaid office. So there's a lot of misconceptions about all of that. And some people think they will owe the tax, and I have to explain, no, you're not going to owe the tax. You're well under the exemptions, but you may have to file the return like we were talking
gift
earlier.
tax return.
Yeah.
And which I guess that's a confusing term. It's like, why is it called a gift tax return if there's no taxes? But that's the government.
Yeah. Well, it's I could explain it to us, but we'd have to have a seminar for about an hour. So.
Let's stay on the Medicaid topic when we come back from this break. This is Financial Coaching Radio. I'm Jason Walls, joined by John Baker, estate planning attorney. We're back right after this.
I like to dream, yes, right between the sound machine. On the cloud of sound, I drift in the night, any place it goes is right.
Do you have a financial plan? I'm not talking about a worthless binder full of pretty charts and graphs. Are you certain you're on track to reach all your financial goals? A comprehensive financial plan is about so much more than just your IRA and mutual funds. It involves risk management, tax planning, professional investment management, retirement, and estate planning. Make sure your entire financial life is in order by calling me, Jason Qualls, a commission-free certified financial planner, at 878-2134, or go to my website, jasonquallscfp.com. Buying a house is stressful, and so is shopping for a mortgage. Take my advice and get a second opinion on the mortgage for your new home or your refinance. Not all banks and mortgage companies are created equal. Trust me on this. Call my friend Marshall Sparkman with Franklin Synergy Bank at 615-439-0885. Great team, great process, and the best rates. Marshall Sparkman with Franklin Synergy Bank at 615-439-0885.
Look inside, girl, let the sound take you away.
Welcome back to the show. This is Financial Coaching Radio, the one show giving you the truth about personal finance. I'm your host, Jason Qualls, certified financial planner. To listen to the show anytime, anywhere, click listen live or any of the podcast episodes at financialcoachingradio.com. John Baker, estate planning attorney, is still in the house, and we're going to move on to the topic of Medicaid planning as it relates to estate planning. I guess first, what are the names? We have Medicare and we have Medicaid.
Right.
It's just, was that on purpose to confuse people?
Probably.
And sometimes I slip up and I'll say Medicaid when I mean Medicare.
Well, I do too. So of course Medicare is the health care, the health insurance for retirees and for persons that have been determined disabled for Social Security, and they can get on the Medicare program for their health care. To get into the Medicare system, you would have had enough working hours in your life to qualify, for Medicare. And then that, of course, is your primary medical insurance.
That's starting at age 65.
Yeah. And so now Medicaid is not an insurance program that you pay into. It is a benefit program, a need-based benefit program for low income, low net worth people who otherwise could not afford health care. They may be eligible for Medicaid benefits. So and the Medicaid system is run by the state, but largely funded by the federal government.
Now, is Medicaid in some instances deeper than just nursing home insurance?
Oh, sure. I mean, we've got children. We have lots of children in Tennessee under Medicaid. I've heard, I can't remember what it is now, but I heard a percentage of the Tennesseans that rely on Medicaid for their health care in Tennessee, and it's a pretty high amount. But again, you have to be eligible. It's a need-based benefit, and there's a lot of strict criteria. It is also the payer for nursing home care for most people that are in nursing home care for long-term basis. In other words, after their Medicare days run out, which is typically within 100 days or less, then Medicaid, if they're eligible, will kick in under that program. But it can get confusing because you have all, like you said, is it Medicaid, Medicare?
And to become eligible, let's say you have some assets. To become eligible for Medicaid benefits, you would have to spend down your assets and not have too much income coming in.
Yeah, assuming you had assets, you would typically have to do something like that.
So in the last segment, you mentioned gifting and doing gifting, and sometimes, the gifting rules for the IRS are way different than the state rules for Medicaid. And a lot of people do gifting to qualify for Medicaid, and there is no gift limit exclusion on the Medicaid gift limit, right?
Yeah, so basically, for Medicaid qualification, particularly in the long-term care arena, if you have a 5-year look back Okay, so if you've gifted within 5 years of making application for benefits, they're going to factor that in your eligibility and the timing of your eligibility. And there could be a period, they call it a penalty period, where you would have to pay out of pocket if you have gifted within that 5-year period.
And the period is not just, it's not just an all or none thing. It's going to be prorated based on where you're at with your assets and how long the gift was made, right?
Well, so let's say that timing can be real important there. So if you made a gift of $50,000 and you applied for, let's say, 4 months and 4 years and 11 months ago, you made that gift of $50,000. And at that 4-year, 11-month point, you applied for Medicaid, you're in the 5-year window. So that full $50,000 gift would be factored in by the Medicaid agency on your availability of benefits.
And I'm just thinking,
Because you were within the 5-year period.
what if that's all the assets one had, and it's they're responsible for their care for that 1 month or whatever, and there is no more cash? Like, how does that work?
Yep. So you need if it's that situation, you're probably working, where there's no, other assets really. You're going to work closely with the nursing home so that before you run out of money, you've got your Medicaid application in, so that you don't have a gap where you're private paying, $325 a day or something like that.
And all of this rules with gifting and Medicaid is to prevent someone who has assets from giving all their assets away to qualify for Medicaid.
Right. So remember, it's a need-based benefit. Okay, you have to show the need based on all these rules. And so, so that's the difference between Medicare. Medicare is something you pay into while you're working, and it's like an insurance program. So if you need it, it's there.
And it's your money. You paid the premiums all the years of work.
Right. So you could be a millionaire and still get Medicare.
But I guess in the sense, no one is paid into the Medicaid system.
Right. That's tax funded.
It's just it's there if you qualify financially, and it's for low income, low assets. But
That's
it's
right.
also a planning strategy for those who are trying to
So-
pay for their long term care if they don't have enough assets.
So with all those rules, if you do have these issues and you do have assets, then you can get, with someone like me and see, what are your planning options? What can you do to become eligible? How long would it take to become eligible? Is there a spouse? If you have a spouse at home, they have certain protective rules that can help the spouse at home. So, because we don't want to impoverish the spouse at home.
Well, this certainly isn't my specialty, doing Medicaid planning, and I haven't looked at Medicaid applications very often over the course of doing this for 20-something years. But I from someone who's not in the financial industry, when I looked at my first Medicaid application and how they were wanting this reporting and all of it completed, I was mind boggled. I was like, I don't even understand what they're asking. So it's not something, if you're trying to structure your estate in a way for you qualify for Medicaid, you need some professional guidance.
Yeah, and it's a being a need-based benefit. You have these rules that are designed to make that work, and it's kind of like tax planning. If you don't know the rules, you may end up paying more than what the rules required you to pay. So
It's everything to do with estate planning in one sentence, right? If
Yeah,
you don't do proper estate planning in any
Uh,
fashion, you're probably going to cost you more than you would have paid the advice of good counsel.
yeah, and really, how I got Medicaid planning was really I started out in estate planning and some business planning. I've kind of like you. I had a business education background and finance and accounting, and which worked well with estate planning. But as I would see more and more clients, I realized most of my clients coming in, their biggest financial risk factor as they aged and retired was their health. And they were giving me all these questions. And so finally I decided, I'm going to have to learn this stuff, because I can't really help them. I can't answer their questions if I don't know how to do this. So that's I didn't start out in Medicaid planning. It evolved because it was the need of the clients.
Yeah, and I think most average folks are going to cross the need for this type of discussion at least at some point, especially with a married couple.
Yeah.
John Baker, estate planning attorney, bakercounsel.com. John, I appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Always great to be here.
This is Financial Coaching Radio. Stick around. I'm back right after this.
How much are your investments costing you each year? Most people don't have a clue. Why is this extremely important? Because overpaying by just 1% a year in fees and expenses can reduce your account balance at retirement by 28%. You heard me right. 28% less at retirement. I'm commission-free, certified financial planner Jason Qualls. I don't sell financial products. I don't accept commissions or kickbacks from investment companies. Give me a call today for a free unbiased investment review at 878-2134 or visit my website, jasonquallscfp.com. A recent undercover study found that over 89% of paid tax preparers made mistakes. You heard me right, over 89%. Is your tax person making mistakes? Tax mistakes cost you money and may even lead to an IRS audit. I recommend you get a second opinion on your tax return today by calling Tutherow Helen Welch CPAs at 848-1072. Tutherow Helen Welch has been providing tax services to individuals and businesses for over 50 years. So call them today at 848-1072 or go to thwcpa.com.
Welcome back to Financial Coaching Radio. Real quickly, I wanted to give you a little bit of my Jerry Springer close here, my thoughts. As political dynamics have heated up in recent years, it seems like that has more so carried over, more than ever, has carried over into financial fears one way or the other. 2 presidents ago, I don't remember it being such a deal like, well, who wins? This wins. It was kind of, whether you elected a Democrat or, Clinton and George W., not a whole lot of difference there. But nowadays, if we're talking someone between Biden and Trump or whoever would be the next 2 presidential nominees, it's probably going to be a lot more polarized than that. So my thought for you today is try not to let that stuff carry too much over to your financial decisions because as we have time to tell us, not a lot of control happening there. On that landscape. They have a little bit of economic control, but the billionaires on Wall Street still hold king over the market, in my opinion. So let's not forget who's really in charge, no matter what political side you're on. This is Financial Coaching Radio. Listen every day at 4 o'clock right here on WGNS. Listen online anytime at financialcoachingradio.com. If you're looking to learn more about what independent fee-only financial planning is and why not dealing with sales tax probably is in your best interest, check out jasonquallscfp.com. I'm out of here for today. I appreciate you listening. We'll be back at you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Keep it locked in right here on WGNS.